Everything is inside of a boardroom. All real decisions are made inside of a boardroom. That's just how reality is. Nobody likes to accept it. People talk about politics, democracy, voting. Okay, so when everything falls apart, this is how I started in crypto. I was younger, I had more testosterone, I was working out more. I was very angry about the banks. The banks are the kings, and they lie about it. This is the big trick, right? We don't live in a democracy. We live in a world of kingship, as always, but the kings are the bankers. And that's how it is. A young man discovers this and gets very angry. The crypto people discover this and use it to sell Bitcoin. And the bankers are not stupid. They co-opted Bitcoin. They co-opt the markets because everything's connected. So personally, I believe that Bitcoin is co-opted. That doesn't mean it's all bad. We're not living in a black and white world. It's gray. But when Balaji and other people talk about, Bitcoin maximalism, you take it with a grain of salt because they're worshiping money, and this money is integral with the banking system of the U.S., the euro, the yen, and this is the nature of money. It's very easy to flow. So what can you do, right? Like that's part of the discussion. And like you said, with Money 2.0, if you're creating your own monies, there's so much potential, right? Everyone knows this is revolutionary, and we just started. It could take 100 years. Things happen fast. 100 years is only like really 3-4 generations, and we're in such a fast technological revolution. For example, I bicycle since I'm 13 years old. I live in Manhattan. The subway is slow. Why. I'm very fast on a bicycle. I was a bike messenger. I loved bicycling in the street. It was dangerous. It was like a video game for me. It still is. But I bike slow now. I'm older. And by the way, Amsterdam, I won't even get into that. But bicycling is a new technology. Bicycling is only 200 years old. We were born with legs and walking. And before that, so people really, we're very short in our time span, in our perception of time, because we only have one life, and also our emotions are up and down. And the reality is, you have only so many years to have a child if you want to have a family. So there's time constraints in our social and mental world, but technology is transgenerational. So we have to really think about this long term. But I'm talking too much, so I will stop. Thank you so much, Daniel, for tolerating.
Yeah, we make a separate panel or even like a discussion group about money, crypto 2.0. Because the thing is, when you start to mine your own currency in your local nodes, because this is what is happening, someone is offering an activity, we're organizing a meetup. This is how we're starting, playing kindergarten, okay? But someone is putting effort in, and really people want to reward that person for organizing a meetup because it's nice. They have a nice time, they are dancing. What I want to say is, how do you want to regulate that? No one can come, you cannot be humans. Like you cannot mine that through being human. Can this be qualified as money? And that's the thing, we should develop something which cannot be qualified as money because you cannot buy it for the old money. And if you cannot buy it for the old money, maybe because it's soul-bound, whatever, I don't know. But we should continue that discussion. I'm really happy to meet you. And yeah, let's create a Telegram group, Crypto 2.0, whatever. Yeah.
Hi, Zev.
Nice guys, Michelle?
I wanted to add something. Hi, Zev. Very interesting points. I was curious to know which kind of leaders do you see, let's say, shaping up? Because you mentioned 100 leaders. Which traits you think that they should share?
I mean, historically, when you look at the foundation of different, whether it's a state or a religion, there's always groups of people, right? So it's like the basic attributes. I mean, if you read, actually, it's actually really good. Most people, even Jewish people, don't know about the Mishnah. The Mishnah is the sort of follow-up to the Old Testament that was written for hundreds of years later. The last book of the Mishnah talks about how to form groups of people that are essentially judges. And you can call them judges, parliamentarians, but the qualities are simple. They have to be trustworthy. They have to be smart, obviously. They have to be humble. There's basic qualities, just, the Christian virtues. right? Like, and the cardinal sins. You have to stay away from people who are sucked into, let's say, problematic behaviors, gambling, addiction, being unreliable. Like this is very important. Basically, anybody who's in a group of leaders must be capable of being a witness. And when you are a witness, you are testifying towards judgment. And when you judge people, that's a very serious thing, because that can result in a collective decision to kill someone, right? That really is what punishment is. When you look at the Old Testament, when you look at the modern state, I'm personally not really in favor of capital punishment. But most people who are against the idea of killing as justice, they neglect the idea of sort of what is the idea of consummate leadership, right? When you have a group of people, there's no real rules as to reward and punishment. So you can say the death penalty is bad, but that's a separate issue. Conceptually, you have to have people who are willing to take it to the extreme of judgment, which is good and bad. You cannot have people that are willing to hold back. And what that means is you have to have very trustworthy people. If you have someone who's willing to testify that someone else killed someone, and this maybe means that they should be killed, then that person's willing to kill someone as justice. Now, you can call it murder, or you can call it punishment. These are just words. You have to have people who are very serious, and not kidding around people, right? And not people who are willing to sort of allow that kind of language of joking around into a discussion. And I'm going to sound very chauvinist, but I was raised in a very feminist family, and I'm very respectful of women. I'm actually incredibly respectful of women, but I think modern culture has twisted the way of thinking, which is why I qualify what I'm about to say. Women, really, who have not had children and raised children, there's something to say versus men in general. Like, should a woman be able to be part of a group of people that is willing to judge people? So you're talking about qualities, right? One of the problematic qualities of being a human being is whether we can reproduce directly as a woman and have a baby, or as a man. Very different thing. So it's a very big question. Can women who are childless be part of a group like this? Personally, I'm chauvinist, so I think it's mostly men, if not exclusively men. But if it's women, they have to have already successfully raised children. That's what I personally believe, because I believe that's
Give me children,
a
I'll raise
test
them.
for success as a woman. Doesn't mean I'm against women who don't have children, but I could be wrong. There's no right and wrong. You need people to come together and say, what are the qualities of leaders, right? In the Bible, okay, I'm a short guy, I'm 5'5". In the Mishnah, it says that the leader should be tall. And I think that's great. I like tall people. All my good friends were tall growing up. So I laugh, and it's like, okay, maybe back then tall was 5'6". I don't know. But the idea of what leadership is, it's important. And people have to agree on it. And it's never perfect, but it's a very serious business. It's a very serious business. That's what I think.
Yeah, I mean, thank you for your answer. But so basically, this means that they should be able to have the closest proximity to ground truth. Because how can one judge if he doesn't know what is true or what is false?
Yeah. I mean, you can't be like 20 years old. A leader, in my opinion, now that I'm older, I'm 43. Knowing how I know about myself and when I was younger, there's a lot of very wise and smart 20-year-olds. And maybe once in a blue moon, you get one. But life is suffering. You have to go through the process of suffering and joy and experience and wisdom to gain an understanding of ground truth. That's what I believe. I've come to believe this. And it sounds like I'm an old man, but I don't feel old. I'm in good shape. It's just knowing what I know. It looks like leadership needs to be at least a certain minimum age. In the U.S. Constitution, it says that the President of the United States, minimum age is 35, I believe, or 40 or 35. It might be 40. So age, all of these things. Age, health is important. You don't want people who are terminally ill. You can't have someone who's a leader that's, worried about death every day. Like these are issues, right? So it's like, something to think about. And of course, mental capacity, right? If someone has Alzheimer's, these kinds of things. There's so many lists, you can go down, but that's basically it.
Yes, absolutely. And also, of course, the source of information that they feed upon. So that's another problem, but that is a whole other different question about sense making, in my view. Anyway, thank you, honestly, Ziv.
Regarding leadership, though, I mean, do we really just want to recreate a top-down hierarchical society where, are we just going to build another sort of network dictatorship? Is that the idea? I mean, I'm not sure we want to have leaders that sort of lord it over everyone else.
Hey, look, this is a big question for the ages, right? The anarchists versus the organizationalists. I'm somewhere in between. I think everybody in crypto has a little bit of an anarchist in them, but at the end of the day, I love evolutionary biology. If you ask how are human beings structured, you look to primates. A mother is a dictator. A mother is a dictator, right? So when you say you don't like dictatorship, you have to really dig into this question because biologically, at the very foundational levels of what it is to be a human being, a Homo, erectus, even before we are Homo sapien, means that we're a blank slate born into a dictatorship. And guess what? If you don't have that dictator, if you don't have a good mother, you're in a very bad position. Without dictatorship of the mother to the child,
Sure. Like, at the end of the day, the issue is that nation states and corporations already exist. So, like, I mean, the leaders already exist, corporations already exist, hierarchies already exist. So, like, what's the point of just reproducing the same stuff we already had? I mean, why not just go join a political party and or start a political party or start a standard company? Why not just do everything in the existing system? If we just want to create another leadership, the leader who's in charge of everyone. I mean, what are we doing that's new?
Great
With Web3 then?
So I think when you look at the history of social organization, there's always the social organizations that are supra, right? These are usually governments because they tend towards and are defined by excessive coercion. And then you have voluntarism, which is usually religions. But religion often in the past was merged with the state. So the word religion and government, I always like to talk about defining terms because words are always sloppy and messy. It's their simultaneous strength and their simultaneous weakness. So supra and infra, so the lower organizations that would rebel against supra organizations because they wanted to exit, whatever you want to call it, often enough, some people would try to do a revolution, and that is basically coercion with coercion, right? It's just violence with violence, and that's a game that exists. We all know it exists, and that's part of a material dialectic in history. But at the same time, there's other people that just want to drop out and start their own organizations. You can call them cults, intentional communities, all sorts of these communities that do their own thing, and they're primarily premised on voluntarism. Now, you can call that religious voluntarism or not, but just because it's primary voluntarism doesn't mean that coercion is completely absent, right? If you have 10 people and one of them has a bad day and they steal a little bit of food, you have to shame that person or ostracize them. That is a form of punishment. That is a form of violence. Without violence, right, without judgment and discrimination, you can have no social organization to begin with. So the positioning of, government and revolution versus anarchy on the other side and total flatness or anarchical social behavior, this sort of bifurcation and juxtaposition is in some sense a false separation, right? There's spectrums of behavior, coercion and voluntarism. Even in government, there is some voluntarism, as bad as it looks like right now, right? We're looking at World War III, but
So I would agree with that, but there's still it seems to me pretty pointless to start a new organization that just completely reproduces the old organization. So if we're basically saying I think we really need to think carefully what are we doing that isn't the same as a corporation or a state if we're going to go for the whole leadership thing. It sounds quite traditional. And maybe the answer is that we're all wasting our time. We should just join a company instead and not bother with this network state thing. But at the same time, we have to if we're going to do this network state, there's not much point in just completely reproducing the exact same power structure organization that already exists. So we really have to think, what are we doing that's new if we're going to go for this leadership thing?
There's Radical Exchange. There's a lot of groups out there in crypto that want to sort of describe new forms of governance. You have quadratic voting. You have different forms of governance for housing and property dynamics. I mean, all of these things need to be discussed 100%. Now, quadratic voting I think is very cool, but it's still voting. So you could say, as you just did, that, well, you're just reproducing the same new thing with a different algorithm. Little tweaks, little changes can be very significant, and there's no escaping our biology. We still need organization. We need human organization. That's without question. In fact, the people who are coercive at the very top of society, all of the major governments, their major tool of coercion is not the gun, but it's just distraction, right? We're talking about Aldous Huxley and the world of distraction, the society of spectacle. So what they do is they distract everybody, and then people say, "Oh, how do we organize? We don't even know how to organize. We're too distracted watching television or sports or something like this." So entertainment is really the way to distract people from social organization. And the other side is also just throwing a wrench and saying, "Well, we don't need organization, and all organization is bad." You know, this is a wrench. To tell people that all organization is bad is to the flip side, you're endorsing chaos. You're endorsing disorganization. And this is what the organized hierarchical coercive structures, what they thrive on. They thrive on the stupidity and distractibility of the masses. And they spend and invest a lot of time in figuring that out, right? You have Fabian Society, you have all sorts of these psychological associations, which are brilliant, and I really do study them, and I'm impressed by them. But intent is everything, and their intent is simply to control people for those above. So, okay, you know, that's what they're doing, that's their game. So you have to figure out how do you maybe reproduce or do things differently, hierarchically. But without hierarchy and without organization, there's no way of moving forward, right? Wisdom and age and other qualifying factors show that some people are more capable of leading other people. A baby, a child, is not capable of leading anybody. The idea that democracies will have people who are 14 years old voting, why not have dogs voting? Why not have animals voting? I mean, this is already about the triviality of collective decision making. You know, and people go through this. They attempt to trivialize it at the highest levels. And frankly, our democracies, we know that they're all subverted, and they are trivialized, right? They're run by intelligence agencies. They're not run by politicians or whoever you think you're voting for. So, to be honest and to be sincere is to be open, to say, this is my face, this is my name, this is a group, and there's no one else behind the person, right? And then you start to have a question of leadership. Who's qualified? I mean, you be sincere about it. That's the path forward. Not to just say, well, we're reproducing the past. It's no good. Throw the baby out with the bathwater. I mean, it's like, okay, but people have to organize. Whether they did it for good reasons or bad reasons, they still have to do it. It's a psychological question. It's a sociological organization. Anyway, okay, I'm talking way too much.
But super valuable and super interesting input. I just want to basically give my viewpoint with really practical examples. So, first of all, I think at the free market of thoughts, and in the end, the people will decide whom to follow. I don't see myself as a leader. I see myself as a gate opener. So when I meet people in real life, I would never make them the box, know them or next to them, gate opener. We are doing this together. But honestly, in the beginning, quite frankly, I organized the call. I decided that this is today. If I would open up governments in telecom group, guys, what do we do now? No one will take the initiative and say we do it like that. So I need to be the leader until we really get serious and my decisions can affect someone's life. Then we need to have technology. Let's say, stupid example, telecom group, 246 people are inside, and I have a conflict with someone. And that happened before, and there are also people in that group where this happened before, and we have a different viewpoint, and we fight. And me, my ego tells me, let's kick the person out, because I don't want to, confront myself with that like this discussion. Should I be able to kick a citizen out as Daniel? Certainly not. I should not be the decision maker. So we need technology in order to prevent this from happening. And then the second thing is there's a second guy, he's from Belarus, his name is Ray. He has a futurestate.tv is his project, and he also wants to start a net state for nomads. I, by the way, say nomads, no dash nets. We are not mad. So that's my filter. We are based on ground reality, whatever ground reality is. So he is in favor of universal basic income, even though when it comes with central bank digital currency. I, as a guy coming from East Germany, in general, don't have this technology even in place because it's only a matter of time until we have the next data. It's just basic statistics, basic thinking. And that's why I'm absolutely against even put such a system in place. I'm also against putting a digital ID system in place for your health data because we knew this was a wrong decision what they did. There was never any scientific rectification for giving this vaccine to young and healthy men. No one can rectify this with any statistics, any rational thinking. So out of the sudden you were excluded from your society, even though you acted absolutely scientific and rational and not emotional like most of the people who looked up for a leader. So coming back to close the loop, he is in favor of putting that. I am against it. We will have a discussion. He called me conspiracy, and I was like, wait a minute. We did this 4 years ago, and we want to repeat that. So let's hop in a discussion. I put my thoughts, and he put his thoughts. And in the end, the people will decide who is closer to their truth. I am not the judge. I can only put my arguments out there, and people will decide. So, yeah, that's what I think. We need leaders who are gate openers, and we need to limit their power by technology. And this is where blockchain comes into play. So yeah. Okay, if there are any questions, I think we should raise them now. Otherwise, we'll wrap it up because we spoke now for nearly 2 hours. And I will use that everything what we recorded, probably not publish it, I don't know, but I will use the transcription and write a nice article about what we discussed. So we will repeat that talk. I have to decide, maybe we do it weekly again, or bi-weekly, or monthly. Let's see. But it was really nice. I was really happy to have this discussion without negativity. Jim, interesting to hear different perspectives, even with this group of less than 10. Yeah, of course you can do some marketing and bring more people there, but then you have 50 people and it just gets chaos. So it's more about quality than quantity. Very glad to this conversation. Profound. Okay, guys. So yes, just join this Telegram group. I will post the links there. We can have our discussions there, and yeah, we keep it. Thanks everyone for showing up and then for hosting. Yes, Natalia, greetings. And during the next conversation, we will have the Met operator, crypto Met operator, talking about the network state camp, and we have Susanna from Freedom talking about regen farms starting in Portugal.
Thanks, Daniel.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Daniel. Thanks, everyone. See you next time.
Namaste.
Bye-bye.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye.
Ciao, John. Ciao, Michelle. Michelle, are you here in Malta? We can go out for a beer. No, he already left. We meet for a beer, Michelle, when you... Yeah? Tomorrow? Text me. In Valletta. Ciao, ciao.
Valletta, 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 Valletta. Valletta, 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 Valletta. to clear some more.
Surrender any old beliefs to ultraviolet fire, to the ultraviolet angels. I ask them to clear and release this belief. Realize in this lifetime you live in a vast and magical universe. Your reality is shifting. The power of love is the strongest force in the universe. You're returning to unity consciousness. And when you're ready, release this lifetime. Release this lifetime. And ask your higher self and guide to lead you to another space where you can connect to the higher selves of all those you've hurt or harmed in all other lifetimes. All of those you've killed, wounded, enslaved, or betrayed. Speak now to these beings of light. Whatever you need to say to them. Words of release, words of peace, words of forgiveness. Releasing the old matrix. This is your opportunity to say whatever needs to be said, to allow all negative energies or cords between you and the souls that have passed over to be dissolved in light. Crystal of light in your hands. Large clear quartz sealed in fire. This crystal is magnetic. Anywhere you're holding the light or soul pieces in your field of anyone you've hurt, harmed, killed, or betrayed from any lifetime, allow the crystal to extract this light from your field, pulling all of it into the crystal. And seeing light flow into the crystal. Pull all of the light out from any being you've hurt, harmed, killed, or betrayed, or enslaved into the crystal. When the light stops coming, surrender this crystal to your higher self. Surrender it. Ask for the light within this crystal to be cleansed, healed,
Big
transformed,
crystal.
and returned
A
to the
huge
oversouls
watermelon
of all those
size.
beings you've hurt or harmed.
Please. Big one. At least. As big as it can hold. Actually.
And thanking all of the higher selves before you and releasing them in love and light back to the universe. As a starseed, you are here as a warrior of the light. You are here on this planet, not to fight. You are here to transform this world. Fighting is the way of the old, outgoing 3D matrix. I call upon your higher self and all angels of light now to transform all enemy patterning within your consciousness that you've picked up from lifetimes within the 3D matrix. Enemy patterning, seeing another as enemy, another being or group or nation as enemy, consciousness of us and them, of separation, of superior, inferior, saved and damned. Release this consciousness. Feel yourself bathed now in the light of many colors as angels send you healing, clearing out separation consciousness in this particular form. Returning to your mind and consciousness, unity, which is the way of the universe. Transform all impulses to see yourself as separate, superior or inferior from any other being or group in the universe. Feel the light of unity and universal brotherhood and sisterhood return to you now. Conflict occurs within the 3D matrix and also the 4D matrix as we're ascending to 5D. Within the 4D matrix, there are warriors of light that fight forces of darkness. I call upon these warriors of light now, and also the goddess Athena, come be with you now. And feel these warriors of light and the goddess herself, goddess Athena. The goddess was always one of wisdom and strategy, and had been called on for many thousands of years within warfare. Her energy is not one of bloodshed, but one of intelligence, strategic thinking. And sometimes the best strategy is withdrawal, of course. Call upon all these beings to offer you armor of light to protect you as you ascend through the 4D matrix to 5D. This armor protects your energy fields from lower frequency forces. Feel a helmet of light around your head. A breastplate of light around your torso, front and back. A shield of light further out at the back of your energy field, protecting you from lower frequency energies. Archangel Michael gives you a sword of light to cut through any cords or threads to anyone in the 3D or 4D matrix. And feeling also light covering your hands and arms and feet and legs. This armor is around your field. You still have a sense of freedom within it. And should you wish, you can ask this armor to withdraw and release. You call it only in times of need. All other times you can release it back into the grids of the earth and the Christ grid. I call now for all the positive qualities of the warrior archetype to return to you, free of all discordant energies. all the positive qualities of courage and leadership and resilience that have been developed over lifetimes. These qualities help you to stand up in this time, to speak your truth, to walk your path of truth, to take action that you need to take on your path of global service. And breathe, open, allow all this work to continue within you. Thank the guide who leads you back to the portal of light that Michael first opened, and step back into your body and feel this portal of light closing now. And I thank all angels around you. Horizontal and vertical force angels begin to withdraw. Thank the goddess Athena or warriors of light in the 4D matrix to withdraw. And breathe, open, soften, relax, and as always, this transmission is offered to you. Love and blessings. Love and blessings.
August 1973, we opened what we called Community Memory, the service. We had a teletype on a podium with a cardboard box that I had built, lined with urethane foam as a muffler, with a clear vinyl flap where you could Velcro it up and get the paper set up and get the teletype unjammed because it was a donated 3-year-old teletype that had gone through its maintenance lease period. And 2 holes in the front where you could stick your hands in and use the keyboard. We had a 110 baud modem in the base of the podium, and a phone line, a foreign board, they called it, from Oakland Exchange, which made a free call to San Francisco. So that phone made 1 call per day, all day long. So the San Francisco number would and we had somebody standing there that had to be there to help unjam it, and they would greet people coming up the stairs at Leopold's Records, which was a student-established record store whose purpose was to drive down record prices. It was successful at that. And it also had a musician's bulletin board, and we were right in front of the bulletin board. People would come up the stairs, they didn't know what to expect. And our person would say, would you like to use our electronic bulletin board? We're using a computer. And we had thought that they would be, a computer? Here? Wait a minute. But no, they always said, oh, can I use it? Because you could see that guy was not standing between them and the machine. And all sorts of things. First of all the traffic from the bulletin board, the musician's bulletin board, came over to this better technology. Plus a lot of other things we'd never expected. Poetry. In fact, a poet selling his wares with sample poems. Various messages, typewriter graphics. You name it. If you could do it at 110 baud on a teleprinter, it would be done. None of this we had really predicted. I consider that in this process, we opened the door to cyberspace, or to what I call the commons of information.
That's it?
Argue with you that we can actually harm themselves and others also online. And right now, what defense tech is building, it's exactly what it is with drones, with AI, with everything online also. So yeah, but what
I just think there has to be a physical component. Sorry.
Yeah, for sure. But we already connect this. The same as we could try to connect to other people online. So about me, I'm Ray Svitla. I'm running FutureState.tv. So it's a constantly research project where we started from just think tank, then we created a venture builder and created a couple of projects. One of them, Bubbles, which is running quite good right now, and already have first paying clients and first investor. So yeah, but where we right now, it's FutureState.tv, it's media and it's events. So we maybe I can share my screen. Yeah. So we already created a couple of events in Lisbon, in London, and in Berlin. And right now, what we are trying to do is a new event that called. Do you see my screen?
Yes, we are seeing you.
Yes.
Cool. So, yeah, and right now we're trying to focus on Future State Congress. So it will take place on December, and we're trying to bring different parts of what everybody calls network states, from tech part, from digital nomad part, from the science part, and what I'm trying to present today is these resilient nations, and where what we call network states are coming from diasporas and people who needed something. So originally I'm from
2020.
Sorry. So
there was a YouTube video or something, I think, was on. I don't know. Okay, continue, right?
Okay, so originally I'm from Belarus, and I'm trying to present you how Belarusians right now are building kind of network state, what we're talking about. So in 2020, we had a really huge protest where thousands and hundreds of thousands of different people were on the streets, and we tried to go to Voice of Democracy. There is democratic voices that try to go to presidential campaign. I promoted Valery Tsipkova. He's on the left of the screen, and that is why I was pushed out of the country, because it's tough to promote somebody in politics in Belarus, where it's dictatorship. So we have used technology to understand that our voices were stolen. So it's a website that's called Golos.com or Voice.com, where everybody who voted on the presidential campaign on 2020 make photographs of the election for whom they voted. And that is how technology help us to understand that, all our voices was really stolen. And everybody around the world also says that, yeah, it was basically stolen. And that is why so many people go out to the streets. And technology helped to do this. Technologies and online stuff that we created, and this civil tech help us to do this. But unfortunately, President go wild and go very brutal things to protesters. That is why most of the people was pushed out of the country. So just to understand how violent it was and how violent it is right now, it's just by numbers, it's much more political prisoners than in Russia. Where it is war right now, but Belarus is 9 million people, and Russia is 250,000 million people. So it's quite a different situation in our countries right now. We are closer to North Korea right now than to Russia, I guess. So yeah, and being political prisoner or just prisoner in Belarus is not very fancy thing. You're going to a little bit dirty things. That is why it's not so good, and that is why 500,000 Belarusians right now just in Europe. So we're trying to escape this for sure. And what's interesting that all these Belarusians right now that didn't have this political things previously, because we had dictatorship for 20 years, and Lukashenko tried to push everything outside of the country. But after we understand how it works, and after technology helped us to see the real numbers, something different happens. So people who go outside the country starting to do their own embassies. So it's a kind of interesting thing that people outside the country trying to do their own just embassies to communicate with other nations, to communicate with other governments, to represent themselves, but not by tyranny like Lukashenko, but by people who are more legitimate. For example, here is our Svetlana Tikhanovskaya. She is elected president of Belarus, who was also pushed out of the country. And we know that she was elected because of technology and how everything was put online. And we even have a presidential council. So basically it's parliament in exile of Belarus right now. And it's interesting part because, yeah, we always have like a parliament exile, a president exile, but right now we have technology, and like Greg said already, technology career can help us to build something on top of that. And what's interesting happened right now, it's happened just months ago. We have a real election, first real election in 20 years in Belarus for our parliament in exile. And it was debates, it was like a real election. We didn't experience this in tens of years. And we made this happen just because we were pushed for the country. And we have no other way to communicate with other nations and how to serve ourselves. And how it was, it already happened. We had made these elections. So we use QAC to understand, okay, these people are Belarusians and they can vote. And we used Zero Knowledge Proof protocol, an app that's called Vogdoni. It's basically Aragon's voting tool to vote for this. Why we made this happen like this? Not because it's fancy or it's cool or it's techy. No, because it's necessary. Because if somebody understands inside of Belarus that you voted for this, you will go for jail for sure, and you can go for years. And that is not fancy, as I already told a little bit earlier. That is why we made different layers of anonymity and understanding that okay, nobody can understand that you vote, but these votes are real and legitimate, and everybody can check this online on chain, and that is why it was happening. And it was also first election that was made with